Parallel universe.
You don't just die.
I'd like to call the Town of Clinton Planning Board meeting to order at 7:32 on Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and pursuant to Executive Order number 202.1 issued on March 12, 2020, suspending the open meeting law and emergency state and federal bans on large meetings or gatherings. The Town of Clinton Planning Board, scheduled for August 18, 2020, will be held electronically via Zoom instead of a public meeting open for the public to attend in person. Members of the public may view the board meeting as it is live streamed on YouTube. www.clinton.com/government/planning-board/video/. The first item on the agenda is variance for Motashami. Is anybody here for that?
Probably having a hard time.
No, I have Jason Tommel, Jacob Harden, and Dee Larkin.
Let me call her. She's probably having a hard time signing in. Find her number.
If she's not here, we'll just move to the second one for Murphy. If she's not here.
Okay.
She is not here.
She's not in the waiting room, so we're gonna have to move.
Okay, we'll move to the second item on the agenda, an application for Murphy, a 2-lot subdivision. Is anybody here for that?
There's a Jason Tommel, Jacob Harden.
Yeah, Jason Tommel.
Art, I'm gonna recuse from this, so I'm gonna go mute and dark while you do this one.
You don't need, I don't think you need to do that, as long as you don't speak.
Okay, I'll go mute. I won't go dark.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Jason?
Okay. Hello. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Jason?
Great. Thanks.
Okay. We moved you up on the agenda here.
Okay.
Just briefly tell us what you're doing.
So we've seen this property a couple times, a couple different versions of it. What we're doing now is still a 2-lot subdivision. But lot 1 in this one is 5 contiguous acres. I believe it meets all the bulk zoning regulations, and the access for lot 2 is still over the farm road on the farm road that goes back, but it's entirely on lot 2, and there's no need for easements or non-contiguous parcels or anything else we talked about. It seems to be a just straightforward conventional subdivision that, yeah, this is a picture that the ZEO in March, from the March 4th correspondence, provided us. And we basically did that in CAD.
Okay. Jack?
Just a couple of questions, and I apologize, but the only drawing I've got, the preliminary map, is greatly reduced and it's hard for me to read.
Okay.
The access to lot 2, how wide is that?
The actual carriageway, or, okay, so this is not the most up-to-date plan.
Oh, is this the one? No. Hold on.
Nope.
That's
We need the,
yeah,
yeah.
hold on. I have so much stuff on my
fair enough. Thanks, Arlene.
chair. Sorry about that. Technical issue.
That's it.
This one?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay, hold on. Good.
My question is really, is lot two a rear lot? Because
I-
if, go ahead.
I defer to the ZEO, but I believe Lot 2 is just a standard lot because the frontage of Lot 2 is more than half. It's kind of the west half of the frontage.
Mhm.
And the access points on the east side of that up against the property line for Lot 1. But
Yeah.
as far as how wide is it, it's
Because if
pretty
it's a
wide.
if it's a rear lot, it's got to be 40 feet for the access. So do we have to figure out what constitutes a rear lot, or is the access 40 feet?
It's way
Wide.
over 40 feet.
40 feet wide?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I walked across and it didn't look that way, but maybe, as I say, I can't see the distances on the map very well.
So is that in ownership or the carriageway? Because the 40 feet,
It says the access to a rear lot, if it is a rear lot, has to be 40 feet wide.
sure,
Across
it's essentially half of the frontage of the existing lot right now.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, okay. So you're not, so your understanding is the road itself doesn't have to be 40 feet as long as there's 40 feet of total property. Is that your understanding?
That would be mine. I defer to the ZEO to confirm that, but that's how it is typically, that you're not going to have a 40-foot wide driveway. You'd have a 20-foot wide driveway and a 40-foot wide kind of right of way.
Okay.
But I don't know that that's applicable in this case because we essentially have two lots with a lot of road frontage on Willow Lane.
Yeah, okay. I see your point. Um, the map that I've got shows something that's called a stable. That looks like it's right up against the line. Is that, does that meet the distances for a side, for the side yard? I don't think it does when I looked at it, but if it's 50 feet, you tell me.
Yeah, we can look into that to see whether that is needed. We have it labeled as a stable. I honestly don't recall whether it's a turnout shed.
It basically is. It's a
Yeah.
run-in shed or a turnout shed, whatever you want to call it. I mean,
Right. So we can look into that and see if it's going to remain or what we have to do for that. But I see your point on that.
yeah, there's also what looks like an old outhouse, which is also within the 50 feet. So I think you've got to tell us whether you're going to just knock them both down or change the line for the lot, the property line on lot one, or seek a variance. I don't care what you do, but you have to
Right.
define for us what you want to do there.
Okay.
In the same way, we're not being asked, I don't think, to approve, a site plan for lot two for a house, but there is an indication of a proposed house on lot two. Is that 100 feet? How far is that from the property line?
It's going to be 100 feet. We have the setback line off the side yard, and then there's, with the conservation easement, I think it's a floating buildable area that we have to be within that can set in there. So we have to adhere to all the bulk zoning.
Okay.
And that width there is about 115 feet. So it'd be about the same width off of where it says proposed lot two. And there appears to be enough room in there for a house.
Okay. I just wanted to flag it in case somebody raises it.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess my question for the other board members, because I never know this stuff, is we have to do a sequel review for this, I think, don't we? As a
Yes.
subdivision? I just don't know. Arlene?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
So-
either a question of short form or long form.
Yeah, I don't have the CEQA application. Was one submitted?
It
This has
was
been-
a while ago, when
Yeah,
they
that's
put
why
together
I don't
that
doubt it, but
2019, right, Jack? I mean, John, what's your name? Jason, right?
Yes, yeah,
It
we
was with the
submitted a short form.
original subdivision.
Yeah. Okay,
I
so,
have it to you. I'll give
so
it to you.
we have
If you
to,
don't have your copy.
so I think all we have to do at this stage is put it down for a public hearing and a CEQA review, and we ought
Well,
to,
we have to accept, we have to do the sketch approval. We never done the sketch plan approval. So we have to do the sketch plan approval and then the preliminary and then public hearing.
We could do sketch and then a public hearing and then preliminary final.
so I think all we have to do then is sketch approval. And this, as I understand it, Jason, this is the configuration that the CEO suggested, right?
Yes,
And you're gonna maybe allow an extra couple of feet so we're sure that it's at least 5 acres when all is said and done.
it's 5 acres. It has the 400-foot of frontage.
Mhm.
The only question now is how we're going to be dealing. The only question in my mind now, notwithstanding what the current CEO has on his review, is how we're handling the stable and outhouses or accessory buildings if they're applicable to the side yard setback, or
I
if the
would-
side yard setback's applicable to that.
Structures are structures, I think they are. So with that, I would, move that we give preliminary approval, set a date for a public hearing, and designate ourselves as lead agency.
Can I interrupt? Did you make a motion?
I thought I just did.
Oh,
Uh,
go ahead. Second
I-
it first.
Don't we, discussion?
Oh, okay.
Second, who's the second? Can I have the second? Who was the second? Anybody?
This is
second?
Justin. I'll second Justin.
Okay.
Discussion.
Discussion on this, don't we have to do, sketch plan first before we get into preliminary and so on and so forth?
Yeah, yeah, so,
I thought all we had to do at this meeting was sketch plan approval.
That's, yeah, but you said preliminary.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant just sketch plan approval.
Okay, why don't you redo the, motion, okay, Jack?
Okay, I hereby move that we give sketch plan approval to this proposed subdivision, subject to a full review in connection with the public hearing at a date to be set.
Justin second.
Okay.
can
Discussion,
I have a suggestion
Yeah,
before we vote. So, you're not, basically when we're reviewing it, you want to make sure that this all, all this outbuildings here meet the side yard setbacks and all that stuff. To make
yeah,
sure.
I raised that, and there seems to me they have to either move the line, or tear the buildings down. I don't care which.
Or get a variance to keep them up.
Okay.
Or get a
Second-
variance. You're right, three choices.
Second, do you need the town engineer do you need consultants to look at this? Or are you guys okay not needing the
Well-
consultants?
We need the highway department to look at it, and I would like the CEO to look at it. I don't know that we,
Okay, and next, you
Meyer.
gotta find out whether you need a short form or a long form EAF.
I have no idea. I absolutely don't know.
Well, if it's complicated and if it's in the CEA, you normally need a long form.
Well, then let's do the long form.
Long form is more complex.
Yeah, may I jump in for a moment there? On 2 items, I think we did have the highway department review the access point, and I believe, Arlene, there's a letter on file for that. And the impacts, I think the environmental impacts of this are pretty negligible. So we're thinking that the short form was applicable. And I don't believe we're in a CEA. We're staying out of the easement. We have done environmental and ecological resource evaluations and pretty much have disclosed everything that our scientists have found. So if I could ask that you consider the short form being sufficient.
It's just that part of it, even though you say you're staying away from it, Lot 2 does include the conservation area and the, looks like some water issues as well on the property. So don't we need the longer form? I really just don't know.
I guess I'd just ask that in consideration of the impacts directly resulting from the subdivision, there's not a house or it's not a house or a site plan where we're showing, but this is something that maybe we can talk about. But I think that personally, I think obviously the short form is relevant, but maybe we have a discussion at the town level with whoever makes that decision.
And I think we have an option, if I'm not mistaken, to request the short form now. And then once we see that and send it out to other agencies, we can then ask for a long form if we're not satisfied with the short form. But
That sounds sensible.
my secret training was a year ago, so
That sounds
Right.
sensible.
That's correct.
Let's do that.
Okay. And I think we also need a better map here,
Yeah.
because this is very difficult to read. And I think eventually you've got to put on the location on that Lot 2 of the proposed house.
Mhm.
So we have a building envelope and so on and so forth there. Okay?
Right. Yeah, and beyond the sketch plan, you'll have all that detail.
Okay.
And you need to show a driveway, the proposed driveway, and a potential driveway in case the other driveway is not accessible. You got to work that out with the highway.
Okay. Okay, Jack.
Okay, so I move that we designate ourselves as lead agency for secret purposes with, at this point, a short form secret application without prejudice to seeking a longer one if needed, and that we give preliminary sketch approval to the proposed subdivision without prejudice to a full review in connection with a public hearing and the submission of a more detailed plan showing the width of the access road, showing what will happen to the stable and other outbuildings that are within 50 feet of the proposed property line, and such other detail as may be appropriate.
Okay.
Can I revisit one thing, just as we're talking about it? Jason, I'm looking at again, I don't see a definition of rear lots in the zoning code, but the house here is in the rear. And the zoning code says that the access way to the rear lot must not be less than 40 feet wide across its entire length. So doesn't that mean that the actual access to wherever the house on lot 2 is going to be is 40 feet wide, has to be 40 feet wide? As opposed to the entire, the lot being more than 40 feet wide.
Was that a question for me?
Yeah.
I would have to look into the zoning definitions and talk to the ZEO and look at how it's been applied at the town
I
level.
I think we should have that when we, meet on this next time to,
Okay.
because, so I'm just looking at the wording of it. And I would very much appreciate knowing what the views of the CEO are on this. So I think we have to send this notice to both the highway department and the CEO.
That was
Anyway,
really the definition of rear lot and access way, right? Those were
Yeah.
your two. Okay.
Yeah, and neither of those are terms that I see defined here. And I realize that this has been up and down. We may be thinking of this as a rear lot because of the prior sketches that were submitted, but I would like to know the answer to that.
Jack, rear lot is defined under lot comma rear.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, son of a gun. I just looked under rear lot because that's what they called it. Lot does not achieve the minimum lot width at a minimum required setback from the street and therefore requires an access way. Well, so you have to show us on the plan whether this is 400 feet minimum lot width does not achieve the minimum setback distance from the street. I guess it does. I just don't know. Talk to the CEO about it. Just make if it's that simple, then you let us know.
Sure. Absolutely. I believe it does, but I'd like to go through and just make sure we're checking off all the boxes for you.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay,
Thank you, Justin.
Sure.
yeah. The motion, is that's your resolution at this
Yeah.
point? Okay,
Yeah, because it's preliminary.
we got a second on it?
I'll
Second,
second, Justin.
okay, discussion?
Jack, did you say, what type of action is that? Is that unlisted, coordinated, type 1, type 2?
I don't know. I think it's type,
So coordinated action normally needs 30 days. We need the review for 30 days.
yeah, okay.
Type 2 action is normally the simple one and stuff like that. The type 1 action could also mean
Well,
subdivision, like major
we're
subdivision.
using the short form, so maybe it's
If it's short form, you could call it like type 2 action uncoordinated.
if you say so.
Okay,
Coordinated or uncoordinated is whether there are other agencies involved. Type 1 is the one that's listed. Type 1 and type 2 are listed. 1 is serious, 2 are not serious. There's a big bucket of everything else that's unlisted, which is closer to type 2. If we have another agency involved that's going to look at it, then we should do coordinated. And if it's type 2 or unlisted, I just don't know what the list is.
So you have to decide whether you're going to need the DEC, you're going to need the highway, the agencies.
Well, I think
both agencies.
I think we need our highway people to look at it. I understand there may be a letter, but that was on a different plan. So I think the highway people have to look at it. So if that, not the county highway, because it's not on a county road, but I think the town highway department has to look at it. If that makes it coordinated, then it's coordinated.
I think it's coordinated unlisted.
There you go.
and we also need the fire department.
Right. So 30 days.
Okay.
What about Department of Health?
What?
Department of Health. Department of Health.
I don't know.
They're not
Yeah.
building anything yet, though, right?
Exactly.
All right, but the building envelope that he's going to propose, where you're going to be able to put that building on lot 2.
We don't know where that building is yet.
But that's going to be on the revised plan that's being submitted, right?
Yes, we definitely need the location of the proposed house on Lot 2. We already have Lot 1. Lot 2, because of the wetlands, et cetera, on that lot, we definitely need a proposed site so that we know this, that this is going to satisfy all the criteria.
So what about,
We're only talking about sketch plan right now.
Right.
we still need all these agencies. What about the DEC, since there are wetlands? What about CAC?
Sure. We should,
Yeah.
then, yes, absolutely. Let's do that.
CAC, Highway Department, CAC, Fire Department, and the Public Health.
Right.
That's
And the
what I
zone, and the zoning officer, since he's had an
Yeah.
interest in this.
The Dutchess County Planning?
I couldn't hear you, Arlene.
The Dutchess County Planning. Dutchess County Planning.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
suspect they won't comment, but let's send it to them.
And what kind of wetlands is this? Because that depends whether it's Army Corps of Engineer. Do you know, Jason? Is it DEC or federal wetlands?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I'd have to check the memo. I can get you that information.
Well, actually, I could tell it. I could tell you right now. Hold on, but I have to get out my screen.
Okay?
All right, we'll figure it out whether it's DEC, where it's Army Corps of Engineer or the NYS DEC. All right.
Okay.
All right.
You'll write up a resolution on this, Jack?
Sure. I didn't think we needed for a preliminary approval, but I'll be happy to do
No,
that.
it's sketch plan.
Sketch plan, a sketch plan. I said I didn't think we needed it, but I'll be happy to do that and get that to
Yeah.
Arlene tomorrow.
Okay. All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Justin, I.
Art,
Sarah.
aye.
Sarah, I.
Okay. We got Jerry? I didn't hear Jerry. Is Jerry still with us? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got 4 anyways.
He's muted.
He's muted. Oh, boy. Okay, all right.
Is Jerry gonna vote?
I certainly would like him to.
Hold
Jerry,
on.
thumbs up, thumbs down.
Can Jerry see us? Where's Jerry?
I can't see him.
Yeah, he's here. He's muted.
Oh.
Jerry, you're muted.
Jerry, you're muted, Jerry. Where is everybody?
Jerry, can you hear us? Wave if you can hear us. Okay, which way are you voting? Yay or nay?
There we go,
Okay.
thumbs up.
Okay. All right, so moved. Okay, next.
Did we set a public hearing?
No,
No, we've got to get this, a map in with all this information before we set a public hearing, because half of this may be mute, if it's not correct. So I don't see setting a public hearing until we get all the information, okay?
I agree.
Okay, next item.
Thank you all very much.
Okay,
We have a Jacob Harden and Dee Larson in the waiting room.
all right, so we don't have the Motoshimi people in.
Doesn't look like it unless they're.
Can I check that applicant, please? Because that is important.
Is there somebody else representing them?
Who, the Motoshimi?
Yeah,
No, she's by herself.
okay, then if they're not there, we're moving on to the next one. The next item on the agenda is the BCDE Family LP Wetlands Permit. Is anybody here for that?
Which one do you want, man? Justin?
Jacob Harden.
Not D. Larson.
Yeah, and D. Larson as well, both of them, please.
There's three of them. I don't know if Susan's gonna be here.
Yeah, let them both in.
Jacob.
Everybody's in the meeting now. That's left.
Okay. All right, so can whoever is representing BCDE, can you identify yourselves? And then we'll, hello? Connecting. Hello?
Yes, hello, this is Doug Larson.
Okay.
Hello.
And I'm
you?
expecting Jacob Harden from my office too. I'm the architect, the applicant, on behalf of the BCDE Family Trust, the Tannenhauser family.
Okay, thank you. Can you explain why you're here briefly?
Yes, the Tannenhauser family has bought a rather large parcel on East Brook Lane with a pond and several structures. It was the old Jug Hill camp. And they would like to renovate the main house on the property. It's an old house, old farmhouse. The farmhouse is halfway into the 100-foot setback from the wetlands. So we were advised to fill out the wetlands application as a first step and come before the planning board to describe the project and find out what the town and or the planning board would like to see next. We're in the process of working on the designs and we're hoping to file for a building permit, but we thought that this would be the first step to come before you, show you what the owners would like to do and see what approvals you would like to request of us. So shall I walk through the plan here and give you the lay of the land?
Yes, please.
Okay, so actually the best thing to look at is, I think,
The one with colors?
the aerial photo is probably the best thing.
Okay.
That's not on this document, it's on a different document.
Okay, hold on.
It's a,
Yeah, hold on. I got so much stuff on my file. Not that one. That's not.
it's A001, A02. It's the photographs we sent.
This one? No.
All right,
Not
does
this one.
everybody have it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this one?
no. It's
No.
It's a photo.
It's an aerial
okay.
photograph.
Okay, hold on.
No, that's parcel access. That's not our,
Yeah, I know. Hold on. Just give me a minute.
I can speak a little bit about it while Arlene is looking for that.
Go ahead, talk.
Okay, so it's a large parcel with a pond right in the middle. Used to be a camp. It has a probably it has a 19th century farmhouse on it, Hudson Valley bracketed style with a cupola. It has a barn, a tennis court, a couple other structures, an A-frame.
This one? Can you see it? Can you see my screen?
No,
Yeah.
that's
That's it.
exactly, okay. So this is a close-up of the center of the parcel. It's a very large parcel. The farmhouse is there in the dotted white line. You can see the cupola and you can see it has an addition to the left, an addition on the back. And the 100-foot setback line around the pond right through the cupola, which we can look at in a minute on the plans. So to the left of that, just outside the dotted line is a frame structure, which the camp used. There's another shed hidden in the trees. You can't see it there. Right near the water, there's a garage with an apartment above. Near the traffic circle, there's 2 sheds. You can see one in the sun, the other one's under the tree. And then there's a large barn right there. And then off in the field, there's a tennis court. So that constitutes the structures on the lot. They're all in the middle. They're nowhere near any of the setbacks. And the tenant house, there's the tennis court. You can see right there. There's a creek that enters the property in sort of the northwest corner and creates this pond, and then it runs out of the pond to the southeast. So the first, these structures are all in a state of disrepair, and the tenant houses would like to maintain the property for their family use and start renovations. And the first project for them is the farmhouse. Since the wetland setback line went right through the middle of the house, we thought we need to come to you first. If you scroll to the next screen, Eileen, you can see what the farmhouse looks like. The next page in this, there you go. There's the farmhouse. So what we'd like to do to it is fix the front porch so it goes all the way across, and put an addition on the left by that large tree you see there, which will be the new entry, and renovate the addition on the right. The addition on the right, the porch needs to come off, and the rear of it, you can see sort of the roof line goes way down to some additions which are in poor shape, need to come off and be replaced. So I guess the next thing we should look at is the attachment with the colors on it, the site plan.
Yeah, the one a while ago that I was showing before, right?
Exactly. We can show you the existing footprint of the house, and we can show you the parts we'd like to take down and the parts we'd like to add, and you can see what is in the wetland buffer and what's outside of the wetland buffer. So while Arlene's doing that, we submitted a bunch of documentation. We submitted the short form environmental assessment form. We submitted a short narrative. We submitted the paperwork authorizing us to be agents, the photographs, and we also submitted some 3-dimensional renderings of the house when finished, just so you could see how it relates to the historic house that's there.
Well, right now we're
There we go.
we're talking about the wetlands permit, okay? And Justin, I'm sure you've got some questions.
Yeah. For the benefit of the board, can you run through the square footage now of the entire house, the future footprint, how much right now? And I know this is in your application, but it'll be helpful for everyone to talk about how much is in the wetlands, how much you're adding in the wetlands.
I'm gonna ask Jacob Harden from my to answer that because he's prepared the documents.
Yes. So I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So the new footprint that, including renovations, existing footprint, and new additions would be 4,600 square feet. Right now, currently 2,300 of that square footage from the original footprint is within that 100-foot buffer zone. And we are looking at removing in entirety 100 square feet of that existing footprint from the current buffer zone.
And adding 4.
And let me make sure I'm speaking this correctly. So there's 300 square feet of additional expansion into that 100-foot buffer zone. So in total, we have only 200 additional square feet footage of footprint if you include the areas that'll be renovated and through replacement, and also the existing footprint that's just being renovated. So the majority of our new footprint is outside of the 100% controlled zone. So the majority of the area that's within the existing footprint is not being expanded within that controlled zone. I don't know if that was confusing.
Yeah,
But.
no, that's exactly right. So for the benefit of the board, right, the black spaces and what we're viewing right now are the additions. And so you can see the bottom half that is all outside the zone, which is the dashed line. And then the few little boxes that they're adding to the building are going to be that 300 square feet that he talked about. And then can you talk about these? It looks like there's retaining walls, right, on 2 or 3 sides. And so is this, and there was also talk about putting in a basement. So is a basement going to be dug out under these tiny little additions or only the bigger part?
Well, I think a little bit of that will be determined by what conditions we find on site. We're not sure if there might be a rock shelf there. So where feasible, we would add a basement for mechanical usage in the sort of newly replaced, the areas of replacement or new construction that would be for mechanical. A component of this, as you mentioned, there are these existing retaining walls, in particular on the north and east side. And as there's sort of an accessibility issue with the client that we want to create a sort of zero-step approach to the house. So we are sort of reorientating the entry, and the grading that happens for that to occur is happening with outside the controlled area. So there's minor regrading that's occurring within the controlled zone. And so that's part of this large vision that we have, is facilitating most of the removals that are occurring are additions that have a different level to them that hinders accessibility for our client. So that's a driving force in this renovation that's occurring.
Eileen, I think the best one, this is the best image to look at that. See the retaining walls that are all existing except for the one along the new approach from the south. So what Jacob is referring to is the house you saw is kind of up on a knoll, but the owner needs to, has a condition where he needs to get out of the car and go right into the house. So we would be making a driveway spur go up to where it says 73 feet so they could turn a car around and drop them off at a door there on the south. And as Jacob said, all that black area is outside the controlled zone. The black in the controlled zone, a little bit of that is a bedroom addition and a bay window addition, and the square closest to the water is a deck with steps back down to grade. So that wouldn't have a basement. That's just a deck with steps.
Yeah.
Because we're substantially above grade at this point.
Yeah, so my general thoughts are that, first of all, thank you for the materials. I thought they were very thorough and helpful for understanding what's going on and for you to think about for the wetlands permit. It seems clear from all of this, the majority of the work and the land disturbance coming outside of that boundary, and the part that's happening inside is really kind of, tweaking the structure, but it's on land that is already either landscaped or, has been dug up and is held in by a retaining wall. Right? It's not like some raw wetland space that's being disturbed for the house. So it makes sense to me. I think this is it's secret, so we should. I'm happy to set it for a hearing if people have questions. I think it makes sense to refer it to the CAC and the DEC if they want. But it doesn't seem that substantial to me that we need to, belabor the points unless folks have other questions.
Yeah, I have a couple of couple of questions on this. The pond, do you have acreage on the pond?
Oh, gosh, do we have acreage on the pond?
Huge.
I believe
big.
it shows up on parcel access. I think, let me see if I have it on the survey. It is, I do recall seeing it on parcel access. I believe.
Yeah,
but I
Would
wanna
it be,
It's
is
in
it on the Bly and
parcel.
Houston survey?
It's in the parcel.
Hmm,
The pond is entirely within the parcel.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, well, just, you have an estimate of how many acres this pond is?
I believe parcel access was 0.184, but what was listing on parcel access was shockingly small for how it looks.
It looks really big.
Yeah, it looks like it's 5 or 10 acres.
Yes, exactly.
It
But
can't
from
be
what it was
that.
listed, it was showing, because I understand that there's a wetland application with you, and if that acreage is over a certain amount, then it goes to the DEC, and it was below that threshold for the wetlands. And these are New York State wetlands that the 100-foot is being pulled from. And as you can see, we had the surveyor pull the edge of the water on the survey, and that's even in further than what the state boundary is saying. So
Um,
I think,
My next question, the pond is clear here to me. The very dark area within the pond and surrounding some of these buildings, what is that? Is that water or is that,
You're talking about the photograph?
yeah, the photograph? Within the pond, there's a darker shaded area, okay? That moves all the way to, the square there, okay? And there's some other areas that are dark. Is it
Oh,
cloud cover or what
I
is
think
that?
those are tree shadows.
Those are tree shadows.
Yeah.
Tree
Oh,
shadows
That's right.
in
It
the
looks
yeah,
like
pond?
there's no standing water. Off the pond, there's sort of a overflow for the pond and a bridge that crosses over it. It's a man-made. The aerial photos show this back to sort of the 1920s, 1930s when this pond was created. It is a man-made pond. The area in front of that large barn is acting as a dam of sorts. It actually, the topography slopes away from the pond instead of towards the pond. So there isn't actually water from the runoff from the area that we're working in and for the structures, because the land actually doesn't flow towards the pond. And from that overflow, which is man-made, it flows into a small creek. And there's not sort of a large area of standing water. It's just a small stream that comes off the lake on the east side of the property, the southeast property.
Well,
You're talking about these spaces right here? These black areas?
yeah,
Yeah, those are
Those are
tree
tree
shadows.
shadows. That's right.
those are tree shadows?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you're saying that the DEC, you've talked to the DEC and they say this is a local matter?
We haven't gone to the DEC. We wanted to you first to hear
Yeah,
what you'd like us to do.
I think we're having we need to figure out the acreage of the pond to figure out if it needs to go to the DC or not.
It's 5 acres. I just
Okay.
measure it.
but on parcel access, it shows
5
it's
acres. I
it's
just measured it.
DEC and Army Corps mixed together.
So they have to
Parcel
go,
access.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
5 acres. I just measure it. I
Okay,
measured the lake, the pond, it's 5 acres. You can't see it, it's over here.
Mhm.
Can you see it if here you go,
Okay,
can you see it?
we got it. It's 5 acres, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
So I think, we would, I mean, my view on this would be that we get Pete Sotero to take a look at it, just given that there's a lot of things going on and we've several different overlays of wetlands here, including our own jurisdiction, and it would just be helpful to know what kind of permitting would be required for something like this. And I don't think it will take them very long, just to get that view on the table.
That's totally fine with us. Who did you say? Is this?
I'm sorry, he's the town engineer.
Okay.
It does involve a little bit of expense.
Is that something that we should initiate, or is that something you'll initiate?
Well, if the board wants to do it, the board could refer this to him. You would have to pay, or your client would have to pay an escrow, a fee into escrow that would be used to, for his review. And he could take a look at what you're doing. He can have a conversation with you, and he can sort of lay out what the permitting should be for all because it does look like there's federal and there's state, and then there's whatever we're supposed to do. And I've never totally understood how all of those are supposed to relate to each other. You know what I mean? But I just think if you're digging foundation,
it's good to hear that somebody else doesn't. It's good to hear that somebody else doesn't get it.
I think if you're digging and is there going to be like a new septic system? I mean, are there going to be things like septic systems that go in and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, the septic system is in the way of the new driveway up to the new front door, and it's old. So we're just assuming we're just going to bite the bullet and design a new septic system and put it to the south, in the field south of the barn there.
Oh, okay.
Can I just say something? Because this is like since 18th century, and I don't think, you might want to check with the Department of Health whether they still have the record of the septic system or anything, because this was like 18th century or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm sure they don't. I think we're just,
That is an old septic.
we've already engaged, it is old septic. Yeah, we've engaged a civil engineer who's going to be, Richard Renia, who's going to be doing that. He's going to check with the records, and he'll do the perk test, and he'll start signing. But that's sort of all out of the wetlands. So we thought that was like on an independent approval back.
So everybody could see my screen, right? The blue is the DEC and the green is the federal wetlands.
Okay.
We can't see your screen.
I don't see that.
You can see my screen?
I see the house with the gray and the black.
Oh, hold on.
So,
Look at this.
Arlene's pulling, okay,
There
yeah.
you go.
This is, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the logical thing to do is what Paul says, is that the client have an escrow account. We send this to our town engineer, and you can have a conversation with the town engineer, because I'm sure, I'm very sure that the DEC is going to have to be involved in this at one point or another, with the size of this pond and the wetlands surrounding this. And I think it would behoove you to get all your ducks in a row before you start anything, because the DEC doesn't like construction around water bodies unless they approve it. So that would be my suggestion. If the board thinks that Paul's suggestion and mine makes sense, I think you ought to set up an escrow account and get this information and have a dialogue with our town engineer, Peter Sotero, as soon as possible. Okay?
Okay, well, that all makes a lot of sense. That's why.
Yeah, this way you guys, you know exactly what's going on and what permits are needed. I know you'll need one from us, but more importantly, the DEC may want to get involved in this, and I have a feeling they will. And you don't want to do anything without their approval.
Right.
That's for sure.
Normally the
so-
process,
Just,
sorry.
Justin,
Normally the process, you ask the DEC, you contact them, they go out there and then they stake it and they're gonna tell you whether they need a permit. You need a permit from them.
okay. Justin, my suggestion is to go to our town engineer and he will let you know what you should be doing as far as the DEC. I'm sure you're gonna have to contact them.
Okay.
Justin, do you have an idea of what an escrow we should do here?
I will defer to our chairman or other people.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I would say we probably, on the safe side, should do about $2,000 in escrow. And whatever's not spent, obviously, you get back. So, and you can get a check to Arlene. She'll give you the details. So if you want to do a motion on that, Justin, that would be fine.
Sure. So I move to refer this matter to the town engineer and refer the applicant also to the DEC and set up an escrow in the amount of $2,000 to pay the town engineer, with any balance to be refunded to the applicant.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a roll call,
Aye.
please?
Sarah, I.
Jack, aye.
Art, aye.
Justin, aye.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay, gentlemen, we're not, believe me, we're not trying to delay you here. I think this is in your best interest, is to get all the information before any digging starts or any construction. So.
And I did have one note for them. There are the Blandings turtles here, and I know there's isn't there a 6-month season when you can't do construction because they're laying eggs? I never know if it's summer and fall or winter and spring, but just make sure you're aware of when that time period is for your construction purposes.
Okay, thank you. We're fully expecting to have to go through the process, and we're early on in our process, so it's totally fine that we follow. That's why we came here, is to find out what procedures you'd like us to go through.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for a very detailed presentation. That was very good.
You're welcome. You're
Well,
welcome.
thank you for your
Thanks.
time.
Okay, Arlene, is Motashami here? If she's not,
You want me to try call her?
well, if she's not in the waiting room, did she know the meeting? She obviously knew the meeting was.
She knows there's a meeting. I spoke with her this morning. She said she might have a problem signing in.
Okay, she's not here. It's already,
Well,
she's an hour late.
if you want.
She can come back.
I know, but the problem is next week is the ZBA.
Well, that, you know,
Yeah,
It's
but
really
we
not a-
can't,
that's not our problem, Arlene.
I know, but we cannot also punish the people for not being tech savvy.
You call in, right?
We can't,
Yeah, well, all right, well, hey.
I mean, you've called her once already tonight. And there's no answer, so I mean, we can't wait here all night for somebody. Okay?
Your call,
If
okay.
anybody else has a different opinion, let me know. Okay, nobody has a different opinion, okay?
Arthur, you're right on.
All right. Dean, you with us?
I am.
Hello, Dean. Nice to see you.
You as much as I can.
Do you have any words of wisdom for us?
No, I'm all out of that.
Okay.
Yeah, but as far as like wetlands, it's not just the 5-acre pond. I think the way the rule is, it's got to encompass like 12 acres before the DEC gets involved, and that includes the contributories that come into it. So that's why it's probably part of that federal and state wetland.
Okay, well, I think it's a good idea to have Peter check it out and advise these guys what to do before we issue any permits or anything like that. Get an expert opinion on it, so.
Sure.
So how is everything with the town board? Anything interesting you should know about?
I don't know. We're still doing everything remotely like you are. So
Okay.
nothing new. Anything you want me to bring back to the board?
No, we're rolling along here. Does anybody on the board have anything they want to say before we adjourn?
I just had
Sorry.
No, I had a-
Sorry.
I just had a quick question on the Meadowbrook. Didn't a couple come to us on this Meadowbrook property that wanted to subdivide it into all these different lots? Are these the same people?
No, it's under new
No.
ownership.
They sold it in March, yes.
Oh, so they decided not to do that?
No, those are different people going back. I was trying to subdivide. They were trying to subdivide. They want to buy it. This guys now, they're the new owners
Okay, so the other people are gone. They missed
Gone.
out on it. They're gone. Okay.
because they can't do the subdivide, so they did not buy the property.
Okay.
Dean, you
you.
want to tell them about ZBA?
What, that we have a vacancy?
If they know anybody.
Yeah, so Virginia resigned because she has other obligations that she couldn't continue on the ZBA. So there's an opening on the ZBA. But it hasn't been officially opened. I know that we have one, possibly two applicants that are interested, so. But we haven't opened it yet to, or advertised it yet to take in applications.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, Dean, thank you for showing up.
I'm here for you.
Okay. Do we have a
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, yeah, Jerry, my God, we finally heard you.
Finally, Jerry, finally. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Discussion? All in favor?
Sarah, aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, so moved.
Night all.